Mastering your inner dialogue is one of the most powerful secrets to building a peaceful mind in a world that constantly throws noise, stress, and chaos at you. The way you talk to yourself shapes not only your emotions but also your perception of reality. Every thought that flows through your mind has the potential to either calm you down or agitate you further. When the inner voice is left unchecked, it can spiral into overthinking, self-doubt, and endless worries. However, if you learn to guide, soften, and discipline this voice, you can create a mental environment where peace thrives, even when the outside world is unstable. The first step is awareness. Many people are not even conscious of the way they speak to themselves. Their thoughts run automatically, like a background program, repeating fears, judgments, or comparisons. When something stressful happens, the mind often exaggerates the situation, magnifying it into a crisis. By becoming aware of this internal chatter, you create space between yourself and your thoughts. You begin to notice that not every thought deserves attention, and not every internal narrative reflects reality. Awareness is like turning on a light in a dark room. Once you see what's inside, you can decide what stays and what needs to go. Once awareness is developed, the next step is reframing. Reframing means consciously changing the way you interpret a situation. For example, instead of telling yourself, "I can't handle this," you reframe it to, "This is challenging, but I will grow stronger through it." The words you use on yourself matter because they directly influence your emotions and energy levels. If you constantly use negative and disempowering language, your body responds with stress, tension, and anxiety. But when your self-talk is encouraging and calm, your body follows suit by releasing stress and helping you relax. Reframing is not about ignoring reality or pretending everything is perfect. It is about choosing interpretations that give you strength rather than drain you. By practicing reframing regularly, your inner dialogue transforms from a harsh critic into a supportive coach. Another important aspect of mastering your inner dialogue is practicing self-compassion. Most people are far kinder to others than they are to themselves. When you make a mistake, your inner voice may lash out with words like, "I'm such a failure," or, "I'll never get this right." These harsh statements erode inner peace and create unnecessary suffering. Self-compassion means speaking to yourself as you would to a dear friend. If a friend stumbled, you would encourage them, not attack them. Treat yourself with the same kindness. When your inner voice becomes gentle and compassionate, you develop resilience. You stop carrying the extra burden of self-criticism and instead give yourself the space to learn, grow, and move forward without guilt. Peace of mind cannot coexist with constant inner attacks, so learning self-compassion is essential. Managing inner dialogue also requires filtering the kind of thoughts you allow to grow. Thoughts are like seeds planted in your mind. If you water seeds of worry, fear, and anger, they grow into overwhelming emotions that disturb your peace. But if you water seeds of patience, gratitude, and calmness, they grow into habits of peace. One practical way to do this is by using affirmations. Repeatedly telling yourself statements like, "I am calm and capable," "I choose peace over worry," or, "I let go of what I cannot control," plants seeds of positivity in your subconscious. Over time, your inner dialogue naturally shifts towards peaceful patterns, because the subconscious mind absorbs what you repeatedly feed it. Affirmations are not magic spells, but they are powerful reminders that redirect your mental energy toward peace. It is also vital to recognize that your inner dialogue is heavily influenced by what you consume. The information you feed your mind through social media, news, conversations, or entertainment directly impacts the quality of your self-talk. If you constantly expose yourself to fear-driven content, your inner voice will echo that fear. If you engage in environments filled with gossip or negativity, your mind will internalize that tone. To protect your inner dialogue, you must be selective about what enters your mind. Surround yourself with uplifting books, conversations, and content that inspire calmness and growth. The more you feed your mind with peace, the more peaceful your inner dialogue will become. Another practice that strengthens control over your inner voice is mindfulness meditation. Sitting quietly and observing your thoughts teaches you that you are not your thoughts, you are the observer of them. This simple realization is transformative. When a stressful thought arises, instead of reacting immediately, you can simply notice it, acknowledge it, and let it pass without getting entangled. The mind often clings to thoughts, replaying them like a broken record, which creates anxiety. By practicing mindfulness, you train yourself to let go. Your inner dialogue becomes lighter, less obsessive, and more balanced. Even a few minutes of mindfulness daily can gradually reshape the way your inner voice operates. Journaling is another powerful tool. Writing down your thoughts allows you to release mental clutter. When your inner dialogue feels overwhelming, transferring it to paper gives you clarity. Often, you will notice that what seemed like a huge problem in your head looks manageable when written down. Journaling also helps you identify recurring negative patterns in your self-talk. By recognizing them, you can consciously work to replace them with healthier alternatives. Over time, journaling acts as a mirror that shows you the evolution of your inner dialogue, guiding you toward more peaceful patterns. It's also important to understand that mastering inner dialogue is not about silencing all negative thoughts forever. Negative thoughts will always arise, because the mind is designed to protect you from danger by anticipating problems. The goal is not to eliminate them, but to prevent them from dominating your mental space. When a negative thought arises, you can acknowledge it, examine whether it is useful, and then either act on it or let it go. This approach prevents small worries from turning into storms inside your head. It gives you control over which thoughts get your energy and which ones fade away. By choosing not to dwell on destructive self-talk, you preserve your mental peace. Another dimension of mastering your inner dialogue is gratitude. Gratitude changes the tone of your inner voice. Instead of constantly focusing on what's missing, gratitude reminds you of what's already present and valuable in your life. When you regularly practice gratitude, your self-talk becomes filled with appreciation rather than complaints. A grateful inner voice naturally reduces stress, because it focuses on abundance rather than scarcity. Gratitude can be practiced in small ways, such as reminding yourself of 3 things you are thankful for every morning or evening. This simple act shifts your mental focus and gradually rewires your inner dialogue into one that fosters peace. Finally, consistency is the key. Transforming your inner dialogue is not a one-day task. It requires daily practice, just like training a muscle. Some days will be harder, and negative self-talk may feel overwhelming, but persistence ensures progress. Over time, you will notice that your default inner voice is calmer, kinder, and more balanced. You will be able to face chaotic situations without letting them shake your inner peace, because your dialogue with yourself will remind you of your strength and resilience. Mastering your inner dialogue means becoming the guardian of your own peace. Instead of letting your thoughts control you, you learn to guide them, filter them, and nurture them. In a world full of chaos, this mastery is like building a sanctuary within your own mind. No matter how loud or stressful the outside world becomes, you carry an inner calm that cannot be taken away. This calm is not dependent on circumstances but is a result of your choice to speak to yourself with awareness, kindness, and strength. And once you master this, you realize that peace was never outside, it was always within, waiting for you to listen to the right voice. Practicing mindfulness and presence is one of the most reliable paths to building a peaceful mind in a world that seems to never slow down. The modern environment is designed to pull your attention in countless directions, from constant notifications on your phone to endless responsibilities at work and home. The result is often a restless mind that is either stuck in the past, regretting mistakes and replaying memories, or lost in the future, worrying about what might go wrong. Rarely does the mind naturally stay in the present moment, which is the only place where peace actually exists. Mindfulness is the art of returning your awareness to the now, again and again, until it becomes your natural state of being. Presence is the practice of fully engaging with whatever you are doing, without distraction or preoccupation. Together, mindfulness and presence create a mental environment where chaos loses its grip and calmness becomes your foundation. To understand why mindfulness is so powerful, consider how stress is created. Most stress does not come directly from events themselves but from the stories we attach to them. For example, when someone says something unkind to you, the event is short-lived, but your mind may replay it for hours or days, adding layers of interpretation such as, "I'm not respected," or, "People always treat me this way." The stress grows not because of the event but because of your mind's attachment to it. Mindfulness interrupts this pattern. By observing the thought instead of becoming trapped in it, you break the cycle of reactivity. You notice the thought arise, acknowledge it without judgment, and let it pass like a cloud drifting across the sky. This simple act of awareness creates space between you and your thoughts, allowing peace to enter. Presence, on the other hand, is about immersing yourself fully in the activity of the moment. When you eat, you taste each bite instead of scrolling through your phone. When you walk, you notice the feeling of the ground beneath your feet and the rhythm of your breath instead of racing through mental to-do lists. When you listen to someone, you give them your undivided attention rather than planning your response while they speak. This kind of presence transforms ordinary experiences into peaceful ones. It also prevents the mind from being overwhelmed by multitasking, which scatters your energy and leaves you drained. By practicing presence, you gather your mental energy into one clear focus, which naturally brings calmness. Mindfulness can be practiced through formal meditation, but it can also be integrated into daily life. Formal meditation is when you deliberately set aside time to sit quietly, close your eyes, and focus on your breath or a specific anchor of attention. Each time your mind wanders, you gently bring it back. This repeated act of returning is like training a muscle, strengthening your ability to focus and remain calm. At first, the mind will wander constantly, but with practice, you notice longer moments of stillness. Over time, this practice spills over into daily life, making you more aware and less reactive in stressful situations. Informal mindfulness, on the other hand, can be practiced anywhere. Washing dishes, folding clothes, or even commuting can become opportunities to train your attention. Instead of rushing through them with impatience, you bring your full awareness to the task. These small acts of presence accumulate into a greater sense of peace throughout the day. One of the most important aspects of mindfulness is learning to observe without judgment. The mind naturally labels experiences as good or bad, pleasant or unpleasant. These judgments intensify emotions and disturb peace. For example, if you feel sadness and immediately label it as bad or wrong, you create resistance, which adds more suffering. But if you observe sadness simply as a passing emotional state, You give yourself space to feel it without being overwhelmed. Mindfulness allows emotions to flow naturally, without getting stuck. This non-judgmental awareness is deeply healing, because it prevents the mind from fighting with itself. Instead of struggling against what is, you learn to accept and flow with it. Peace comes not from controlling everything but from embracing life as it is, moment by moment. Breath is one of the most effective anchors for mindfulness. The breath is always present, always accessible, and always reliable. Focusing on the inhale and exhale brings your awareness back to the present instantly. When your mind is restless, paying attention to your breathing can slow down racing thoughts and calm your nervous system. Breathing consciously also connects the mind and body, creating a sense of harmony. Simple techniques like deep belly breathing or counting your breaths are powerful ways to ground yourself in the present. Even a few minutes of mindful breathing can reset your mental state and restore inner peace in the midst of chaos. Presence also extends to how you interact with others. When you are present in conversations, you listen with your full attention, without interrupting or drifting into your own thoughts. This kind of presence not only creates peace within you but also brings peace to relationships, because people feel genuinely seen and valued when you give them your attention. Presence builds deeper connections, reduces misunderstandings, and replaces reactive communication with thoughtful responses. Relationships become less stressful when both people are truly present with one another. Another benefit of practicing mindfulness and presence is that it reduces overthinking. Overthinking is one of the biggest enemies of peace. The mind creates endless scenarios, analyzes every detail, and replays situations long after they've ended. Mindfulness helps you recognize when you are trapped in this cycle and gently return to the present. Instead of getting lost in, what if, or, if only, you come back to, what is. The present moment is usually far less stressful than the stories the mind invents. For example, sitting at your desk with a cup of tea is peaceful, but your mind may turn it into chaos by worrying about tomorrow's deadlines. By practicing presence, you learn to enjoy the tea fully without letting future worries rob you of the current moment. Gratitude and mindfulness are closely connected. When you are present, you notice small details that often go overlooked: the warmth of sunlight, the sound of birds, the comfort of clean clothes, the kindness of a smile. These moments of awareness naturally give rise to gratitude. Gratitude, in turn, amplifies your peace by reminding you of the blessings already present in your life. Chaos loses its power when your attention shifts to what is good and nourishing in the present. Practicing mindful gratitude each day strengthens the habit of peaceful awareness. It is also important to acknowledge that mindfulness is not about escaping life or withdrawing from responsibilities. It is about showing up more fully to whatever is happening. When you work mindfully, you are more focused and efficient. When you rest mindfully, you are more refreshed. When you face challenges mindfully, you respond with clarity rather than panic. Presence gives you strength to deal with chaos without being consumed by it. It sharpens your awareness while softening your stress. The practice of mindfulness and presence requires patience. At first, it may feel difficult to stay present, because the mind is used to wandering. But with consistency, it becomes more natural. Small daily practices, such as mindful breathing, mindful walking, or simply pausing for a few moments before responding, gradually rewire your brain. Science has shown that regular mindfulness practice changes the structure of the brain, reducing areas associated with stress and strengthening areas linked to focus and calmness. This means that the more you practice, the easier peace becomes, not as an effort, but as a natural way of being. Ultimately, mindfulness and presence allow you to discover that peace has never been lost. It is always here, hidden beneath layers of distraction and worry. The present moment is the doorway to peace, and it is always open. By choosing to enter it again and again, you train your mind to live not in the noise of the world but in the stillness of now. And when you live this way, chaos loses its ability to shake you, because your foundation is no longer external. It is the deep, quiet presence within you. Detaching from external noise and focusing on what you can control is one of the greatest skills for building peace in a chaotic world. Much of the anxiety and restlessness people experience comes not from what directly affects them, but from being overly attached to events, opinions, and situations they cannot influence. The constant stream of news, social media updates, and societal expectations creates a flood of mental noise that drowns out inner calm. Learning to step back from this noise and concentrate on your circle of control allows you to regain clarity, conserve energy, and maintain balance. This practice is not about ignoring the world, but about choosing wisely where to direct your attention and emotional investment. The modern world thrives on distraction. Every notification on your phone, every breaking news headline, every online argument pulls your attention outward. The problem is that much of this external noise has little to do with your immediate life. For example, scrolling through endless debates online or constantly worrying about global events beyond your reach may create the illusion of involvement, but in reality, it often leaves you feeling powerless and drained. When you become entangled in things you cannot control, you hand over your peace to forces outside yourself. Detachment does not mean indifference. It means recognizing the boundary between what is yours to manage and what belongs to the external world. It is about wisely protecting your mental energy from being wasted on things that do not deserve it. A practical way to practice detachment is by defining your circle of control. Imagine 3 circles. The inner circle represents what you can control, such as your thoughts, actions, habits, and responses. The second circle represents what you can influence, such as your relationships, work environment, or community. The outer circle represents what you cannot control at all, such as the weather, global politics, or the opinions of strangers. Most of the chaos in your mind arises when you place too much focus on the outer circle. You spend energy worrying about events that will unfold regardless of your input. Shifting your focus back to the inner circle gives you power and peace, because you are channeling energy into what truly matters, your choices, your attitude, and your daily actions. Detachment also requires limiting exposure to unnecessary noise. For instance, social media can easily become a breeding ground for comparison, judgment, and envy. Constantly comparing your life to the curated highlight reels of others disturbs your peace and distracts you from your own growth. Detaching from this external pressure may mean setting boundaries, reducing screen time, unfollowing accounts that trigger negativity, or scheduling periods of digital detox. Similarly, being glued to the news cycle can overwhelm you with a sense of helplessness. While staying informed is important, consuming news excessively often increases anxiety without offering solutions. By consciously limiting how much noise you let into your mind, you create space for inner calm and clarity. Another important part of detachment is emotional regulation in the face of others' opinions. Many people lose peace because they are too attached to how others perceive them. Criticism, judgment, or even lack of approval can disturb the mind deeply. But the truth is that you cannot control how others think or what they say. Their opinions belong to their perspective, not your reality. Detachment in this context means respecting feedback when it is constructive, but refusing to let every external opinion shape your self-worth. When you focus on living according to your values rather than chasing external validation, you free yourself from the exhausting cycle of pleasing others. Inner peace comes from knowing that your worth is not dependent on fluctuating external voices. Focusing on what you can control also transforms challenges into opportunities. Chaos often makes people feel powerless, but by shifting attention to small, controllable actions, you regain agency. For example, during uncertain times, you may not control the larger economic situation, but you can control how you budget, learn, and adapt. You may not control how others behave, but you can control how you respond with patience or boundaries. This mindset shift is liberating because it shows you that peace does not require a perfect external world, it only requires intentional choices from within. By focusing on controllable actions, you replace helplessness with empowerment, which naturally reduces anxiety. Detachment also means learning the art of letting go. Holding on to grudges, replaying past mistakes, or clinging to unrealistic expectations keeps your mind chained to noise that no longer serves you. The past cannot be changed, and the future cannot be perfectly predicted. Letting go does not mean forgetting, but it means releasing the emotional hold these things have on you. Forgiveness is a powerful form of detachment, not necessarily for others, but for your own peace. When you release resentment, you cut the thread that ties you to pain. Similarly, when you let go of the need to control every outcome, you create space for acceptance and calmness. Life will always be unpredictable, but detachment helps you ride its waves instead of being crushed by them. A helpful practice in cultivating detachment is journaling or reflection. By writing down your worries, you can categorize them into what is within your control and what is not. This simple act of separating the two clarifies where your energy should go. Often, you will realize that most of your stress comes from things you cannot change, and simply acknowledging this allows you to release them. Reflection also reminds you that peace comes not from controlling everything but from managing your reactions wisely. Over time, this habit rewires your perspective, making detachment a natural response rather than a forced effort. Spiritual traditions across the world also emphasize detachment as a pathway to peace. Ancient wisdom teaches that attachment to material things, temporary circumstances, or fleeting emotions leads to suffering. When you are overly attached, any change or loss shakes your foundation. Detachment, however, gives you stability because your peace no longer depends on fragile external conditions. This does not mean rejecting life's joys but enjoying them without clinging. It means loving people deeply without trying to control them, pursuing goals passionately without tying your worth to outcomes, and engaging with the world without being consumed by its chaos. This spiritual detachment strengthens inner freedom and serenity. Another dimension of detachment is practicing silence and solitude. The external world is filled with noise, but deliberately choosing moments of quiet helps you disconnect from it. Spending time in nature, meditating, or simply sitting without distractions allows your mind to reset. These pauses act as shields, protecting your mental space from being overwhelmed. In silence, you realize how much unnecessary noise you carry and how liberating it feels to put it down. Peaceful detachment often grows strongest in these quiet moments, where you can hear your own inner voice more clearly than the noise outside. Ultimately, detaching from external noise and focusing on what you can control is about reclaiming your inner authority. It is about recognizing that while you cannot shape every storm around you, you can choose how to stand in it. You can choose to worry endlessly about things beyond your reach, or you can choose to channel your attention into meaningful action within your sphere of control. One path leads to exhaustion and chaos, the other to clarity and peace. Detachment is the discipline of walking the second path, again and again, until it becomes your way of life. When you master this, you discover a profound sense of freedom. The freedom to remain calm, focused, and balanced, no matter how chaotic the world outside becomes. Cultivating gratitude and compassion is one of the deepest ways to strengthen emotional balance and sustain peace of mind in a world full of uncertainty. Gratitude shifts your attention from what is missing to what is already present, while compassion softens your heart toward yourself and others. Together, they form a powerful foundation for inner calm, resilience, and joy. Many people assume that peace is achieved only when life becomes perfect, but true peace arises when you choose to appreciate and care, even in imperfect conditions. Gratitude reminds you of abundance, and compassion teaches you to respond to suffering with kindness rather than bitterness. These two qualities do not just create temporary relief, they rewire your entire mindset toward stability and harmony. Gratitude begins with awareness. In the rush of daily life, it is easy to overlook small blessings, such as the ability to breathe freely, the comfort of a safe home, or the kindness of a friend. The mind tends to focus on problems, chasing after what is lacking or worrying about what could go wrong. This habit creates restlessness and dissatisfaction. Gratitude interrupts this cycle by deliberately drawing your attention to the good that is already present. Even in difficult circumstances, there are always moments, people, or resources worth appreciating. By practicing gratitude regularly, you train your mind to see abundance where it once saw scarcity. Over time, this shift reduces anxiety, because instead of constantly striving for more, you learn to rest in the richness of what you already have. Compassion, on the other hand, begins with the recognition that everyone, including yourself, is imperfect and struggles in different ways. Life inevitably brings pain, mistakes, and disappointment. Without compassion, these experiences can harden your heart, filling you with anger, resentment, or shame. Compassion softens these sharp edges by inviting you to respond with understanding and kindness instead of judgment. Toward yourself, compassion means letting go of harsh self-criticism and embracing patience. Instead of berating yourself for failures, you acknowledge that you are learning and evolving. Toward others, compassion means recognizing that behind every harsh word or flawed action lies a human being carrying their own burdens. This perspective dissolves unnecessary conflicts and creates peace not only in your heart but also in your relationships. Practicing gratitude and compassion together strengthens emotional balance because they address two different but connected aspects of the mind. Gratitude stabilizes your focus by anchoring it in appreciation. Compassion stabilizes your emotions by replacing hostility with understanding. For example, when someone hurts you, gratitude helps you remember the good still present in your life, while compassion helps you see the other person's actions as rooted in their own pain, rather than as a personal attack. This combination prevents bitterness from taking over. Instead of spiraling into negativity, you maintain balance, protect your peace, and move forward with strength. One effective way to cultivate gratitude is through daily rituals. Keeping a gratitude journal, where you write down 3 to 5 things you are thankful for each day, is a simple yet powerful practice. Over time, this habit rewires your brain to notice positive aspects of life more easily. Another practice is mindful gratitude, where you pause during the day to deeply appreciate small experiences, such as the taste of food, the beauty of nature, or the presence of loved ones. These practices build a reservoir of positive emotions that sustain you during challenging times. Gratitude also works well when shared. Expressing appreciation to others strengthens bonds and spreads peace beyond yourself. Compassion can be cultivated through conscious exercises as well. One such practice is loving-kindness meditation, where you silently repeat phrases of goodwill first toward yourself, then toward loved ones, then toward neutral people, and finally even toward those you may find difficult. Phrases such as, "May you be safe," "May you be healthy," "May you be at peace," train the heart to extend kindness universally. At first, it may feel unnatural, especially toward people you dislike, but with repetition, it dissolves hostility and builds empathy. Compassion can also be practiced through simple actions, such as listening without judgment, offering help to those in need, or forgiving someone who has wronged you. These acts strengthen your inner calm because they align your behavior with values of kindness rather than resentment. Gratitude and compassion are also deeply connected to resilience. When life becomes chaotic, people often feel overwhelmed by loss, failure, or conflict. Gratitude reminds you that even in loss, something remains; even in failure, lessons are gained; even in conflict, opportunities for growth exist. Compassion reminds you that pain is universal, and you are not alone in your struggles. This combination creates resilience because it prevents despair. You recognize that life is never entirely empty or hopeless; there is always something to hold on to, and kindness is always available as a response. With this mindset, challenges no longer break you, they refine you. You bounce back not through resistance, but through appreciation and care. Science supports the power of gratitude and compassion as well. Studies show that regular gratitude practice increases happiness, reduces stress, and improves sleep. It activates brain regions linked to reward and motivation, making you more optimistic and energized. Compassion-based practices have been found to reduce anxiety, enhance emotional regulation, and increase feelings of connection. When practiced together, they create a balanced brain chemistry that supports calmness. This shows that gratitude and compassion are not just spiritual ideals, they are practical tools backed by evidence to improve mental well-being. Another important aspect of cultivating gratitude and compassion is their effect on relationships. Conflicts often escalate because people focus on flaws, mistakes, or unmet expectations. Gratitude shifts the focus to what is good in the relationship, the kindness, support, or shared memories that still exist. Compassion allows you to approach disagreements with empathy rather than blame. Together, these qualities transform relationships into sources of peace rather than stress. They also foster forgiveness, which is essential for long-term harmony. By appreciating the good and understanding the struggles of others, you break cycles of resentment and nurture stronger, calmer connections. Gratitude and compassion also reduce the tendency to compare yourself with others. In a competitive world, it is easy to feel inadequate when you measure your life against someone else's success. Gratitude reminds you of the uniqueness of your own journey and the gifts you already possess. Compassion reminds you that everyone has struggles, even if they are hidden. This perspective dissolves envy and promotes contentment. You stop chasing external validation and begin to rest in the sufficiency of your own life, which naturally enhances peace of mind. Importantly, compassion must include self-compassion. Many people struggle with inner peace not because of external chaos but because of the relentless voice of self-criticism inside. Self-compassion means treating yourself with the same patience and kindness you would offer a loved one. When you fail, you remind yourself that mistakes are part of growth. When you feel tired, you give yourself permission to rest without guilt. This inner gentleness balances your emotions and prevents burnout. Without self-compassion, gratitude toward life feels incomplete, because you cannot fully appreciate the world while rejecting yourself. By practicing both, you create wholeness and stability inside. The beauty of gratitude and compassion is that they are contagious. When you live with gratitude, people around you feel uplifted by your perspective. When you act with compassion, others are inspired to do the same. Peace spreads not only within but outward, creating a ripple effect in families, workplaces, and communities. Even small acts, thanking someone sincerely, listening attentively, forgiving a mistake, can plant seeds of calmness in the collective atmosphere. In this way, gratitude and compassion do not only strengthen your emotional balance but also contribute to reducing chaos in the world around you. Ultimately, cultivating gratitude and compassion teaches you that peace does not depend on the absence of problems. Life will always contain challenges, uncertainties, and imperfections. But when you choose gratitude, you see beauty alongside difficulty. When you choose compassion, you respond with kindness instead of anger. These choices build emotional balance that chaos cannot easily shake. Gratitude fills your heart with appreciation, compassion softens it with care, and together they create a steady calmness that shines even in stormy times. When practiced daily, they transform peace from something you seek outside into something you carry within.